Well, hello again. I'm very glad you're able to join me here for another devotional that we're going to have. It's been a good Sunday today, and I hope your Sunday was good as well, or whatever day it may be for you. I hope things are going well for you. We're going to be in First Timothy, chapter 1, 1 Timothy 1 in verse number 18. 1 Timothy 1, verse number 18. But before we do read that, have you ever heard of the teddy bear effect? It kind of makes me laugh, just saying something silly like teddy bear effect. But have you ever heard of the teddy bear effect? I had a friend one time let this, kind of made this known to me one time. He told me about the teddy bear effect, where it's kind of this idea where we've taken bears and turned them into stuffed animals, as far as, made toys modeled after them. And we give them to children, right? And the idea is, these bears are so cute and cuddly, and you can just hug them and sleep with them. And, they're just these cute little cuddly, chunky, furry balls of love, essentially, teddy bears are. But they're modeled after bears, right? And I don't know of any person who's ever encountered a real life bear, like a grown bear, doing what bears naturally do, and said, "Oh, this is a cuddly, cuddly bear." Right? Normally, whenever you're close to a bear, you're living your last moments in life a lot of the time. I mean, obviously, a lot of people have been close to bears that didn't die, but bears are supremely dangerous. Bears will tear people apart, right? Bears are capable of so much carnage on the human being's body, but sometimes we've taken the image of bears and we've kind of made them cute and cuddly and childish and innocent and harmless in the image of teddy bears. But we know that bears themselves are scary and dangerous. A lot of people have done that with God. They've given God this teddy bear kind of a reputation, and they treat God as if God is not something to be taken. He's not someone to be taken seriously, not someone to be respected or feared even. I think the same thing happens a lot of the time with people's lives and the struggle that they have in doing good and doing God's will. A lot of the time people teddy bear effect their daily choices and the struggles that they have with the wrong that they do. I think a lot of the time we kind of don't really appreciate the seriousness and the severity of all of this. If you read 1 Timothy 1:18, Paul says here, "This charge I commit to you, son Timothy, according to the prophecies previously made concerning you, that by them, by the prophecies, you may wage the good warfare." It tells them you may wage the good warfare, having faith in the good conscience, which some, having rejected concerning the faith, have suffered shipwreck, of whom are Hymenaeus and Alexander, whom I delivered to Satan, that they may learn not to blaspheme. You notice here, when Paul talks to Timothy about faithfulness to God, he tells him, according to what God has said, you must wage the good warfare. He doesn't call the Christian life a bed of roses or this cute little struggle with doing wrong, right? A lot of people talk about their struggles with doing wrong, and they talk about it in the most flowery and neutral and harmless language possible sometimes. Oh, it is what it is. I don't always do what's right. I mean, we're all like this, right? They kind of just like reduce the severity of what it really means to, to wage the good warfare or to struggle with doing right and wrong. A lot of people say, me and God, we're not always on the same page. Kind of like big deal kind of tone, big deal kind of language. And they go, messed up again. Oh, well, what are you going to do? We're always messing up in this life. I get how that can happen to someone. We struggle with doing good, doing evil so much of the time that it can become normal for people. But war should never be normal. If you see a soldier in combat, their heart rate is going to be really high, right? Because this is a tense situation. It should be taken seriously, which is why the heart rate of a soldier when they're sleeping and the soldier when they're fighting a battle, those are two completely different things. The same should go with us, not as far as the heart rate is concerned, but as far as taking seriously the situation that we are in everyday life. This isn't some cute little, well, I did wrong. What are you going to do? Ha ha ha, right? We all mess up all the time. I mean, that's the language of defeat. That's the language of failure. It's not the language of someone or the tone of someone who's fighting a war. Could you imagine if America was in full-scale war with Russia? And right now, let's say that was happening. Full-scale war. Lives are being lost. Soldiers are dying. And the president goes up and says, well, we had a bunch of soldiers die in another battle. Just what are you going to do? We're just, a bunch of them are dying. A couple hundred more died today. I mean, it's war for you, right, guys? We would be outraged at him using such harmless, just flippant language when he's talking about war and battles being lost and soldiers dying. We would be outraged if he didn't take it so seriously. And we would want him out of there right away if that was the case. Well, why is it that so many don't feel that way about the battle that they are in every single day? It should be outrageous to treat our struggle with doing wrong and committing sin in any other way other than this is war. And every day is a battle. Every day is a fight, whether I accept that or not. And if I don't accept it, well, I know I'm not losing that. I'm not winning that battle today or tomorrow. Every day is a battle. Every day is a fight. And we are told that by what the Word of God says, we must wage the good warfare. You notice what he says here, having faith and a good conscience, which some having rejected. So the people who are failing to win this battle have suffered shipwreck. They're doomed, essentially. I mean, if you think about someone who's suffering shipwreck, they're doomed, especially back in the first century. It's a rough situation. Odds are you're done. That's the worst possible thing that could happen to you, to suffer shipwreck, other than dying. But in this case, shipwreck often leads to death. Right? Shipwreck, if you're in the middle of the ocean and you suffer shipwreck because of some terrible storm, you're dead. And that's just going to happen 99% of the time. So when Paul uses this language here, he's saying the people who aren't treating this as a war, the people who fail to wage the good warfare, at least to treat it as a war because they're treating it like it's not, that's why they failed, they've suffered shipwreck. They're doomed. We have to have this mindset. If I don't take this life seriously, if I don't take my struggle with sin and temptation seriously, I am doomed. I'm doomed. I'm destined to fail. Absolutely destined to fail. This week, I want to encourage you, but again, this goes for all life, but especially starting this week, if you haven't been doing this before, if you've maybe failed in this area, I would encourage you that in your prayer life, pray and ask God to help you to see this life in a more serious manner than you're seeing it now. A lot of people say, oh, why do I need to do that for God? Why do I need to do that for God? That's the language of someone who is losing many, many battles and is losing the war against sin, against what the devil would want to have happen in their lives. That's a person who's not winning any battles. A person who says, why do I have to do that? Why do I have to do that? Could you imagine, again, if a president said, why do we have to fortify our bases? Why do we have to protect where all of our weapons are stored? Why do we have to really fight really hard in all this? Can't we just do some minimum effort? Right, that's the language of a loser. And when we do that, when it comes to our responsibilities to God and just say, well, why do I have to do that? That's the language not of someone who's trying to fight and wage this good warfare. It's the language of a loser of the war. So when you pray and ask God to help you see this more seriously. And I would encourage you too, when you pray and you talk about your Christian life, on purpose, use terms on purpose like battle. God, help me to win the battle that is this spiritual warfare that I'm in. Use terms like fight. God, help me to fight against my temptation. Not just, God, keep it away from me, please. No, God, help me to fight and win this battle that I'm facing right now, and that I'm facing in my life. Use those terms: battle, fight, war, warfare. More often, struggle. Right? Use these terms on purpose in your prayers and ingrain these things into your mind and let that be made known to God. This is how I view my life. It's a struggle. And when you study and read the Bible, I would encourage you that as you do your reading, notice the language in a lot of Paul's writings, especially very warfare, lots of very warfare-centered passages, like 2 Timothy 4, fighting the good fight. In Ephesians chapter 6, lots of war and fighting language there as well. In Ephesians chapter 6, right? The armor of God is there. Also, look at the Old Testament. Warfare was so spiritual in the Old Testament. And the spiritual nature of warfare in the Old Testament certainly helps us tie this together now in the life that we're living, that our spiritual life is warfare. And now, we're not fighting physical wars because God told us to right now, but our life is warfare, right? These two things are still tied together, just kind of in an opposite way, you could say. In a way, an opposite way, not perfectly opposite. But also this week, when you're tempted, take a moment during this time of temptation to ask yourself, am I treating this temptation like just some minor problem, some minor little sin? Or am I treating this like it is a matter of winning or losing a battle, winning or losing a war? How am I treating this temptation? Well, if I did this, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, right? Again, could you imagine the president saying, my fellow Americans, there's this battle we have to fight, but hey, if we lose this battle, big deal, right? There's always going to be some other battle somewhere else. No. If you lose enough battles and you don't take them seriously, you're going to lose the war. If we don't take the battles with our individual temptation seriously, we're going to lose the war. We have to take them all seriously. We have to care 100% about all of them with the highest level of seriousness. Otherwise, we lose the war. So when you're tempted, think about it in that way. Am I treating this like a battle, or am I just being flippant about it and acting like it's not that big of a deal? Treat it in accordance to what it actually is. It is a battle. It is a struggle. What side of the war do you want to be on? The right side, the winning side, or the losing side? That's a decision you and I have to make constantly throughout the course of our life. And we would do well to remember that. Every day is a war. But thanks be to God that through Christ we can win that war. We just have to keep on fighting until our very last breath. Keep on fighting, Christian. Keep on fighting, soldier. You therefore must endure hardship as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. 2 Timothy 2, verse number 3. Keep on fighting the war. Don't give up. I know you might be tired. I know it might be difficult. God's with you and he'll fight with you. Keep on fighting. Take it seriously. I'll be praying for you this week and always. I love you very much. Thank you so much for joining. I pray for you always. And again, let's win this war together. Again, victory's already been won. Let's make sure we're on the right side. I love you. See you next time. Goodbye.